There's a curious feeling some people experience, like this existence is the last round, as if they've already glimpsed the behind the scenes of the universe before and are now on the edge of transcending to something greater. What if reincarnation isn't an endless carousel but a system with a secret exit? Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, dedicated himself to understanding this invisible portal. In thousands of trance readings, he described reincarnation not as punishment but as an opportunity, each life offering unique lessons and experiences to refine the soul. Maybe some of them, maybe even yours? Are just wrapping up the final human stage, ready to break free from the cycle of rebirths. Stick with us till the end, because we'll close with a simple, bright summary of the main lessons that can clear your path. Think about the last time you caught yourself in the middle of a video call, at a birthday dinner, or even in the supermarket aisle and suddenly felt that the whole scene was temporary, almost staged, like the director would take it down as soon as you looked away. That weird feeling isn't boredom or arrogance, it's an inner echo suggesting your spiritual bags have been packed for a long time, just waiting for a cosmic passport stamp. When Cayce talked about the last cycle, he said that a person starts noticing final review signs and little details others ignore. The background music seems to play on a slightly off frequency, the weekly chat loses its charm, and even that favorite sweet no longer shines the same. This discomfort can pop up while crossing a sunny square, and the smell of freshly baked bread stirs childhood memories that might not even be from this life, or the exact moment you catch an old building's reflection in a car window and your heart races for no logical reason. If moments like these are part of your quiet routine, know you're not alone. Sharing these memories in the comments can bring immediate relief, because recognizing common experiences builds bridges of understanding and breaks down the fear of seeming eccentric. It was precisely through reports like these that Cayce was able to map soul patterns across thousands of lifetimes. In this scenario, the first sign of someone nearing the finish line appears, feeling like a visitor in foreign land, even surrounded by family and friends who have always spoken your language. It's not simple shyness or social disconnect, it's almost physical, like wearing a tight jacket made of customs that no longer fit. The body ages, the clock ticks, but the inner observer seems unchanged, comfortably seated in an armchair on a journey they know is temporary. A hunger for belonging arises that no club, trend, or social media can satisfy. Many try to quiet this hunger by changing cities, countries, or careers, not out of ambition but hoping to stumble upon some scent, sound, or color that points them to their true home. Others draw energy from shallow conversations and become extremely selective about where they spend every minute of attention. This filter isn't arrogance, it's just the instinct to prioritize what helps in the final polish: forgiveness, learning, repairing old mistakes. Hence the sudden urge to start therapy, study contemplative practices, or write reconciliation letters that have been shelved for decades. As this process deepens, bonds take on new shades. Some friendships end quietly, like contracts reaching their expiry date. At the same time, unlikely mentors cross your path, stay for just a few seasons, and leave lessons that untangle knots that seemed eternal. When you notice this quiet coming and going, try to thank in your thoughts. Discreet gratitude acts like a passcode that unlocks invisible corridors. And if you find it valuable to keep this conversation alive, the subscribe button is just a tap away. That way, reflections like this find you again effortlessly. Another side effect of this advanced state is a sharp sense of responsibility. Intuition whispers that every gesture echoes beyond biography, resonating in layers of reality that eyes can't catch. Offering a blanket on a cold night warms more than the recipient's body. Choosing silence over an impatient shout can shift the whole vibration of the journey. Small actions gain an eternal weight, as the soul senses that its spiritual report card is in final review. It's like gathering sparks of light to prove to yourself that you've learned the hard lesson of being kind despite the chaos. On days when the strangeness squeezes your chest, notice how the universe seems to respond with discreet winks. A retreat ad shows up right when you decide you need silence. A book falls off the shelf open to a page that describes yesterday's dilemma. A stranger in the elevator makes a comment that solves the doubt you didn't dare voice. For those tuning into the final chords of the journey, reality sharpens focus and highlights important lines, like a careful director wanting to make sure you don't miss the main speech. Record these messages on your phone in a notebook, wherever you prefer, and act without delay. Steps taken at the right time dissolve the feeling of being out of place and attract new puzzle pieces. Little by little, the emptiness starts giving way to a curious serenity, the awareness that, no matter how improvised the scene seems, every detail is part of a healing plan as old as the stars. Give yourself a moment now, breathe slowly, feel the air wander through your lungs, and remember that, even though the suitcase is ready, there are tasks scheduled for today. And when you're ready to understand how that intense déjà vu confirms the final transition of the cycle, move on to the next stage. It might reveal why certain scenes have been replaying in your mind since adolescence and teach you how to turn them into a compass for finding your way home. One ordinary day you're washing dishes, distracted, when the foam piles up on a glass and the afternoon light passes through the bubbles forming tiny rainbows. Suddenly, time wavers, you know with absolute certainty you've seen that scene before, the exact sound of the faucet, the smell of the detergent, the cabinet's reflection, just like that, the same hand position, the same distant music from the living room. It's not a memory from yesterday or a dream replay, it's déjà vu so dense it feels like it could break the clock. Instead of treating it like a brain glitch, those living the last cycle see these breaks as glimpses of the full script, like existence offering replays to confirm certain chapters have been reviewed many times and don't need correction anymore. Edgar Cayce described deep déjà vu as a voluntary crack in the wall between lives. For moments, consciousness strolls backstage and recognizes the same chalk mark on the stage. The information received doesn't bring dates or names, just a calm certainty that the current scene is part of something vast, coherent, and above all, complete. When this kind of lightning strikes, pay attention to the emotional state with it. If the feeling is relief, you might be signaling to the universe that you've learned the lesson in that moment, and the adventure won't need to repeat. If the déjà vu comes with discomfort or fear, it might be a message indicating there's still unresolved stuff hidden under the rug. Writing down the context on your phone and reflecting later, without rush, often reveals patterns. Sometimes a person is the common link, other times it's a specific feeling like impatience or insecurity. Sharing your discoveries in the comments can unlock new keys, because someone on the other side might recognize the same blind spot and offer a different angle. It's in these small acts of exchange that the journey finds shortcuts. After the déjà vu shock passes, another phenomenon begins to change how life tastes. Talking about death stops being taboo. While most people avoid the subject like a dark corridor, you might notice a growing calm when facing physical end. It's not about flirting with morbid ideas, but about seeing death as a revolving door, not a wall. Stories from terminal patients describing bright encounters, tales of loggers who saw their own hearts stop and start again, all start sounding less like sensational curiosities and more like confirmation of something the inner self already knew. This shift produces practical effects: the urge to organize papers, forgive those forgotten in the emotional schedule, donate what's not missed, record loving messages that can be heard later. It's like packing your suitcase calmly before the trip instead of throwing everything last minute. This new relationship with finitude eases everyday fears. A tense news story still worries you but doesn't freeze you. A test result still causes concern but doesn't bring the ground down. The quiet confidence that nothing truly ends acts as an antidote against collective panics. If friends find your attitude strange, explain simply, "I've realized life is too long to fit in just this round." And if you want more people to enjoy this calm, the share button is right there. Sometimes one click spreads light to corners you'll never visit. When your view on death shifts, synchronicities start to multiply. It's like the universe, noticing you're no longer afraid to bow out, plays interactive director, slipping extra clues into your script. You plan to learn a new language, and that same day a neighbor drops off a grammar book they don't want at the lobby. You think about switching careers, and while waiting in line for coffee, someone mentions a perfect job opening in that unreachable field you'd only dreamed of. These coincidences go beyond chance, they carry an invisible signature from someone wanting to speed up your understanding. Turning down the offer, pretending it's just luck, usually slows things down. Accept it with gratitude and take action, you'll find yourself in the right current, where events line up like a flawless domino cascade. Synchronicity smells like friendship. When it happens, your chest vibrates like someone ringing a bell right in the center of your ribcage. Take that moment to pause, give thanks, and ask yourself, what step is this kind coincidence gently suggesting? Maybe it's calling an old relative, signing up for a class, or simply taking a different route home. Small choices that follow these fresh clues open corridors for the next ones, and soon you'll notice your whole life beginning to chat with you. If this is happening to you, drop a bell emoji in the comments. Those who feel the same will recognize the symbol and know they're not alone. As déjà vus, peace in the face of death, and synchronicity stack up, a feeling emerges that everything's exactly where it should be, even when human logic disagrees. Plans that fall apart at the last minute reveal themselves to be the best possible detours. People who drift away without reason free space for encounters that change your path. There's a unique beauty in watching the puzzle assemble itself, piece by piece, while you become more an attentive spectator than a stressed-out controller. At this stage, the heart gets that trust isn't blind belief, it's the soul's memory reminding you that you've weathered worse storms and always reached safe harbor. Before going to sleep, try a simple ritual. Mentally revisit your day for 3 seemingly random moments and ask if they might have been disguised messages. You don't need immediate answers, just ask and let your subconscious work overnight. Many say they wake up with new clarity, as if someone adjusted the focus while their eyes were closed. If that happens, write it down. Putting it on paper sharpens intuition and lets you compare it later with real events, validating the dialogue between you and the bigger script. If by now your breathing feels lighter and your chest beats with recognition, get ready. The next sign talks about desires dimming, that moment when the latest smartphone becomes just a tool and social status fades to a faint shadow next to peace that comes effortlessly. When you're ready to see how this shift can free your routine from needless anxieties, move on to the next part. It might show why happiness that doesn't depend on buying things is a crucial step toward exiting this big cycle. Then comes the moment when desire, the engine driving shop windows and waking apps, starts to fade like a campfire that fulfilled its job warming the night. You check out the year's hottest release, read the specs, even think it's cool, but the urgent need to own it's just not there. Your heart still beats strong, it just gave up the habit of confusing having with being. This calm didn't come from a motivational talk, it came from a sweet exhaustion. After so many turns, the soul discovered that no object fills the hole that asks for infinity. Curiously, away from buying frenzy, your senses sharpen. Simple coffee reveals a palette of flavors, a cloudy sky shows colors that a wild chase never let you see. Outsiders might mistake it for forced austerity, but inside it feels like fullness after a perfect meal. You don't refuse the menu, you just don't need to devour it. Without the fog of consumption, your gaze naturally turns to others. The muffled crying from the apartment next door, once ignored, now rings like a bell calling you out from your own bubble. Empathy grows so wide it aches physically, others' joy hits like a flash, their sadness, like a thick cloud. It's not about saving the whole world, but about realizing the wall between me and them is just a rough sketch. Edgar Cayce described this state as proof consciousness starts working at a unity level, where a child's pain in a remote place vibrates on the same field as a neighbor's smile. It's common here for people to start volunteering, change their diet to reduce animal suffering, or simply treat strangers with the gentleness they used to save for close friends. Those around notice the change, the environment around these souls feels warmer, more like home. As compassion spreads, old repetitive patterns, the ones looping in the background like a stuck program, begin to loosen their grip. The urge to please everyone or postpone decisions weakens like an old rope. Some wake up one day and realize they no longer need to bite their nails, drink too much, or repeat pointless arguments. It's not about heroic willpower, it's a quiet understanding that the lesson behind the habit has been learned. Without the lie of "it has to be this way," inner space opens, and life gratefully introduces new routines, stretching at dawn, reading poetry before bed, saying no without needless excuses. If you notice this loosening, celebrate quietly. Every chain that falls frees energy for the part of the journey still ahead. Together, these signs, desires calming, empathy expanding, patterns dissolving, create a revealing mosaic. Anyone here realizes, in the blink of an eye, that their own name is just a temporary label stuck to an ancient light. It becomes clear that all the stories acted out over many lives were chapters in the same learning manual, and now the final index is starting to write itself. A strange joy emerges. It's neither festival euphoria nor spa peace, but the feeling of a mission almost done. And precisely because you sense the shift's end, the soul doubles down lovingly on the remaining days, like a passionate teacher close to vacation wanting to enjoy every minute of class. In this mood, the synchronicities described earlier gain a final layer of meaning. Coincidences stop being just signs pointing the way and turn into little cosmic celebrations, like confetti tossed by the universe after every choice aligned with your true purpose. Someone sends a message thanking you for advice you barely remember giving, and that gesture glows like a neon sign saying keep going. An animal crosses your path at a symbolic moment, and after digging into its meaning, you realize it was a message to trust. These invisible micro-parties reinforce the feeling that nothing was wasted, not the stumbles, the tears, or the long waits in cold rooms. Having come this far, it's worth looking back without attachment, just to see the path. It started with strangeness, flashed déjà vus, grew calm before death, danced with synchronicities, freed itself from desires, opened in empathy, and finally dropped old chains. If any of these milestones shine brighter in your heart, type a line in the comments. Your story might be exactly the spark someone else needs to recognize their own stage. And if you feel this kind of talk tunes something inside you, a simple click on the subscribe button ensures new reflections will land easily in your routine. Now, before closing the screen, allow yourself 30 seconds of conscious silence. Feel the air coming in and out, notice your heart beating without needing applause, sense the gentle weight of your body resting wherever you are. Each beat forms a rhythm that started long before this life and maybe is about to change pace. Honoring this pulse, with a kind gesture, a fair word, a focused glance, might be the final exercise before graduation. If you decide to practice it today, remember that, on the invisible side, countless presences root for you to cross the finish line carrying as much love as your arms can hold.